I don't have any, Natalie.
Okay, I'm gonna call this to order here. Welcome to the board meeting, Wednesday, February 15th. We are struggling for attendance right now, so we need to get to a quorum, but we're gonna start ahead. And hopefully by the time we get to any action items, we will have 6 members in attendance. All right, let's start Pledge of Allegiance. All right, let's do it. Kate, you want to lead us
I
off?
want to. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right.
Here we go.
All right. Dr. Quesada, you're up. Official.
You made quorum for us.
Just suppose I should go through Steve. All right, I'm gonna go through, Michael Talby is not here. Chris Cans is also not here. Kate Johnson.
Present.
Is Daniel online? I guess we have that right now.
Did you get any requests for anyone?
The only person I got was Topher and.
Tover didn't ask for a request that I'm aware of. He just said he was gonna be
Yeah,
here.
you didn't request it, you just was unable.
Yeah, he's just unable to be here. The
Okay.
Mr. C will be there. I'm gonna send him in that one.
Okay. So Daniel,
No, he replied.
TBD, right now not present. Dr. Quesada here. Thank you. Topher McDougal is not here. Kristen is also TBD, hopefully arriving soon. Walker McBride here. Kevin Phillips,
Present.
Turner Watts
Here.
L.
Here.
Jonah Turner.
Yeah.
Excellent. That is. Okay, we are shifting into public comment. We have these speaker slips.
We do. Natalie. Oh, Natalia,
Yeah.
excuse me. Vincente.
So I'm not used to this, never done it, so I'm sorry. I want to, in advance, if I get emotional or anything, I apologize. So good afternoon. I am Natalia Vincenti, the first grade teacher here at OTA. And I have been a lead teacher for 6 years and in the classroom for more. I've taught at both charter and public schools with a wide variety of communities and students. And in all of these years, I've never once questioned my choice to become a teacher. I've celebrated and loved every moment of it. Yet this year, I have sat down and wrote two separate occasions and written letters of resignation to leave a career that I have wanted my whole life. In fact, I have noticed I'm not the only one who has experienced this, as I've noticed teacher retention at OTA has been extremely low. Now, I've hit this point not because of my amazing students, not because of the amazing supportive staff and administration that we have, and not because I don't believe in my ability to do my job, but because a select group of parents who believe they have the degrees, certification, and experience to run and dictate every aspect of my classroom. And please notice that I only say a select group of parents. I don't want to overshadow the ones that I do have that are supportive and positive at every stop. This select group of parents have sent borderline belligerent messages to insult my work in the classroom, have entered my room under the guise of volunteering to take unconsented photos of my classroom and substitute lesson plans, sending them to group chats and board members, to then turn around and express that they're upset I'm hesitant to let them volunteer in my room. A select group of parents who have spoken ill about me to board members, foundation members, and administration without coming to me first to let me know their concerns. It is so discouraging to come into work and have my coworkers tell me that parents have been bringing up issues in public forums without them even coming to me. It has affected me both mentally and emotionally to the point that a majority of the days, I don't want to come into work. I dread it. I'm worried that I'm going to come and hear horrible gossip that has been told about me, or I'm going to open my computer to rude messages. A job that I once found so fulfilling and rewarding has become a point of depression, anxiety, and trauma. At OTA, we set such a great standard for our students and staff to be respectful, kind, safe, to understand boundaries, to be good representatives of the OTA name. You encourage us to help create positive and uplifting environments for everyone who enters. But today I ask the board to set those same standards for the parents that join our community, whether it be a policy, a social contract, or simply a parent orientation to set boundaries. I'm asking the board to help protect its teachers before there aren't any more who are willing to teach anymore. Sorry for the emotions and thank you for listening.
Just as a reminder, we're not allowed to respond.
Yeah, thank you.
Are there any speakers?
Yes, Jennifer Borden.
Mr. Phillips, this is the first time you're seeing this.
Thanks.
It's just something for you guys to all take home from my experience. So my background is I've worked in the private sector, I've worked on committees with boards, I've worked as a team, I've created pay scales between boards and committees, and I've worked together in schools as a teacher internally. So that's just my background. And if you don't know me, I'm Miss Borden, I'm the 5th grade teacher here at OTA. Moving forward, I just have a little sheet for you to take home. It's just kind of to say how to stop sinking and how we can sail together, because it seems like what I've experienced here and from my background, it's the same thing. Like it's the same thing I'm hearing from teachers. It's the same thing from the parents. It's like the entire culture of the school. So number one, I'm like sinking ship where OTA has been and is at. Everyone wants to jump ship, including the teachers, not just the parents. The parents want to jump ship and we want to jump ship. So I'm here to stand for that and be like, hey, how can I be a middle person for this and get this going as a team? Because everyone's divided. Moving forward, everyone wants to jump ship, high toxic teacher turnover, difficult time retaining families, negative school culture, low morale for teachers and families, low incentives for teachers, not an equitable calendar or pay scale. I know you guys worked on that last year. I'm not hitting on that. We need a good calendar. We need minimum days. Every single public school and private school that I've worked in, Coronado, Point Loma, has a minimum day, and they have these minimum days so us staff can support each other. We can't support each other here. There's no space for it. So we're just servicing. Number two, how can we become a sailing ship together? Invest in our teachers and create a give-take relationship between all entities. Okay, so we want that between the parents, the board, and the teachers. I mean, you guys have a lot of power here. You make it run too. So it's like we all need to make it run. We're all parts of this. Moving forward to part 3, core part of the OTA ship. OTA teachers are the core and the foundation of quality education for our children and students here at OTA. How do we take care of our core? Okay, we need to take care of our core. We're not doing that. And I'm telling you that right here. She's telling you that right here. We're not taking care of the core. So moving forward, we need to start with an equitable balanced calendar that is equitable to all schools in San Diego County. We need professional development. We need team building. We need collaboration with one another to sustain a strong and qualified teaching team. It takes time together to build a team, and we need one, just like it takes time to build a family together. You have that time. If you didn't have time with your family, you're not building your family. You're going to have loose things all over the place. We need to build our family here. It's not built. We're falling apart. Clearly, all of us are. Go to 4. How do we invest in our teachers as a core entity of our school? There's just bullet points here. I've gone over that. Give, take relationship in all entities, progressive thinking, progressive development, equitable calendar, equitable pay scale, cost of living percentage each year, professional development, collaboration, team building, support from board and parents. The more you invest in your teachers, the more you will get out of your investment. Bottom line. Moving forward to number 5, what does it look like for OTA to get our ship sailing? Okay, more bullet points. We want to retain families, retain qualified teachers, positive school morale, positive school culture. We want higher enrollment. We want stellar teachers and parents and students. We want it all the way around on all sides. We go to 6, let's be a team and get OTA sailing together. I mean, we're not giving up yet. None of us are. So like, why aren't we sailing together? Why aren't we working together on all parts, all entities? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers?
That's all I have so far, unless anyone else wanted to speak.
Do I need to?
You can fill it out, like,
Thank you.
that's
I
fine.
just want to, first of all, I hate public speaking, so hats off to you guys. I just want to stand up and say thank you to you guys. I know you take time out of your personal time to come here and do that, so thank you. Thank you for keeping us OTA in our vision, and keeping our school up and running. I just want to say thank you.
Anyone else? That's it.
Board member comments. Opening up the floor. Daniel, since you just walked in. Anybody have anything they would like to say?
Can we talk about what was just said? I don't really understand on that. I know we
Yeah,
can
I think-
respond to it, we
I
can
think-
speak to it.
Talk internal, I mean, yeah. I don't think we can engage in the back and forth. but I
Correct.
think we can sort of register our opinions on that.
I just want to say that, what Ms. Vincenti shared, rings through much more than first grade. We see it at multiple grade levels and teachers coming to me with this like conversation about how parents treat them. So I think that is a real thing and I hope we get that.
I have something.
Yeah.
I would just like to say that, is she gone? Does she leave?
I think she had to go. Like, I think she had to go.
It's really disheartening to hear this about parent involvement at our school. Having been a parent here since my child, my oldest was in kindergarten, and he's in 6th grade. That's not the OTA that I'm used to. That's not the culture that we're used to, and that's not the community that I think that when we say we want our community back, that's not what we are referring to, obviously. And I think I'm really sorry that we haven't been able to get back to the point where, I mean, our parents were and are in very many cases our biggest asset and outside of the classroom, and have been traditionally very supportive of our teachers. And so I'm really upset to hear that is affecting our teachers so severely. I think that we all, I don't want to speak for everyone on the board, but I certainly am very interested in returning to the culture of a supportive group of parents who are excited to have their kids here at OTA, who will do anything for their teachers because that's what I'm used to. So thank you for coming to speak.
Yeah, as the son of a teacher, it strikes a chord. And I think civility, I keep repeating it, is the way to approach frustrations. And Ms. Borden, thanks for coming with solutions. That's something I think is important when we are in a state of flux or frustration, is to think about the teacher or the frustrated child, or think about ways in which you can direct angst to hopefully solve a problem or understand why there is a problem as well. And, you know, perhaps that's up to some of us on the board to discuss openly if we have concerns and or what we're doing to try to remedy concerns, because we have sprung to action certain situations, i.e. bathrooms, i.e. basketball hoops, small steps that we're trying to do to improve the school while we serve and try to figure out longer term solutions for the school as well. So appreciate the frustration shared and also the solution shared too.
Yeah, I applaud you guys for coming out and speaking out, because it takes a lot of courage to do that, because it can feel like, I mean, on both sides, not feel that comfortable and feel like you guys are underrepresented, and it's important that you have a voice and feel free to come to these meetings, because we certainly hear from the parents plenty. And it's really important that we hear from the staff and not always have it be through the filter of Devin, who I will say does a great job advocating for you guys. That's one of the reasons why he became our principal, because we felt like he really could help build up the staff, and we needed that. We need to improve the morale. So it's a little disheartening to hear that we're still dealing with some of those issues. And I'm hopeful that it's just kind of flaring up and not a pervasive thing that we can't solve. Again, I think it's about collaboration, it's about people being respectful, about an open dialogue, because there is a lot of tendency, I don't know whether it's the pandemic or just for the breakdown and the way that people interact with each other, to just take it from, you know, 1 to 50 in a heartbeat, and it's so much easier to get on a group text or bang out an email than it is to just go sit down with somebody, talk through the issues and try to come up with some action items that we can follow up on and track progress and really, work collaboratively to get it resolved. So I think it's a work in process. And everyone is very passionate about their child and especially their children's education. Doesn't matter whether you go to private school, public school, charter school, there's always going to be that. And especially in a smaller community like this, where there's just a lot more feedback. I hope it's positive feedback and it's working towards the greater good versus trying to divide people. I think that is still the case. I think that the vast majority of our parents, although they want what's best for their kids, they also want what's best for the school. So if we're all pulling in the right direction, we can accomplish great things. We've got to make sure we have an open platform for people to communicate and collaborate and feel safe in order to make that happen. So yes, there's basketball hoops and smaller capital improvements that are happening, but I hope you also realize we are open to any suggestions for how we can improve those less tangible things like that communication, like the ability to build up our teachers. So please keep ideas coming because we're all ears.
If I could, I can thank you for mentioned providing concerns and also solutions and support. That's something to looking at the agenda and looking at one of the papers here, board policy manual, Old Town Academy for Business and Non-Instructional Operations. So I can't say that I've looked at the board policy for family school community engagement, and that might be something that we might want to look at and see what does our policy state with regards to how we as board members also behave, how our parents, how our teachers, so that it's a place of supportive for all. And I've seen different ones where some board policies actually hinder or support both ways, hinder parent involvement, and at the same time gives them the rein to someone do whatever you want at certain points. I think that might be something for us to look at our own board policy on what the parents do and what is it that happens in situations where I know that the principal actually calls the parents to talk to them about their behavior, or there's been situations where, which is not, as you mentioned, it's not a civil discourse among the faculty or teachers and parents. Obviously in doing that. So thank you for your one page. Now, is this yours? Because I'd love to use it even for our own teacher credential.
Fine.
Great, thank you so very much for the organization. Again, I may be looking at a board policy, what does it say in terms of both involvement and behavior?
I want to follow that up to say, I think that there was only 2, but I know of 2 emails that were sent to the board this week from first grade parents. One being the room parent has never talked to the first grade teacher about anything in class. Like that was shared with me today. She's never spoken to her once about what's going on in the class. I believe both emails, neither parent has spoken to the first grade. No, that one I wasn't sure about, but I know the other. So I want to say that.
But they have had meetings both with you
Correct.
concerning it.
Correct.
Okay. I'm not sticking up for him. I'm just trying to
Sure.
clarify.
No, for sure. Which is part of what we were talking about, like going through the proper channels and making sure that those people have had that access. And then I think the other thing is, with what Ms. Borden said, like a lot of what I think she was pushing was this equitable calendar, which is something I have to know with you guys with, the ability for us to do some of this mental health work with the teachers, with the kids, the interventions that we need to be able to work through. That is part of what I've tried to present with the calendar. So I just want to point that out. I understand pretty clearly where everybody's at. But at the same token, like I want to reiterate that like that is why I brought it, because this is a solution to a problem that I've seen.
I think in that case, that's a good example because for most of this board, that was brought up the last year with the calendar, and we thought we had addressed that through the professional development days, through the staggering of the schedule. Now I recognize we've got a lot of new staff, and so folks might go, wait a minute, this isn't that great, but compared to where we were last year, sure, it is a big improvement. So we are receptive and open to those types of suggestions. I think we'll get to the calendar later.
100%.
Always going to be napalm, but
That's why I addressed it.
Yeah,
now.
I mean, I think- I'm not gonna speak for the whole board here. I think we understand the concept of a half day would be great from a mental health and from a professional development standpoint, but just from the promises that we've made to our community isn't something that we can necessarily jump into.
Sure.
But we could probably talk about other ways and other adjustments that we can make in order to make it a little bit more effective. For sure. And I do think the idea of whether it's a contract or just sort of some bullet points that sort of outline in writing for parents, hey, here's sort of a standard of behavior, here's sort of an expectation, whether it is, I don't want to go too far here, but you know, we expect you to volunteer X amount of hours, or we expect you to show up on certain days, and I know volunteering is going to be another third rail, but that idea of getting people integrated in a way that doesn't feel contentious, and doesn't feel like it's a gotcha, but more of a collaboration and helping. So.
Not to step on that, but there is actually, both of those things are outlined in the parent-student handbook that we are supposed to sign every year at OTA and agree to. There is a standard of conduct for the students, for the parents, for the teachers, for everyone, and there is an expectation of volunteerism and an expectation of support for our school. I mean, I did some time looking at it this week, and so that exists. It's unfortunate that there are parents that are not adhering to that. Perhaps that's worth bringing back up, but there's several things in that handbook that people are not being held accountable to. So I think the bite out of that agreement is a bit missed.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what we need to do then is go back and trumpet it, talk about, hey,
Yeah.
here's what we promised, and we may not have seen it in a while. I mean, I'm sure it's like many employee handbooks that people get when they first start their job and years go by and kind of forget.
Mhm.
So a reorientation or a reminder of their expectations that we have. I don't know if anybody else wants to jump in before we switch items here. Thank you. Where are we? Reports and presentations. We're going to jump into the student report. Al, you wanna?
Yeah, sure. So from what we've heard, from mostly the older students, everything seems to be going pretty well. We've got lots of positive feedback on the basketball hoops. And
There, I feel like it's needed.
much more on that.
Yeah, basketball hoops is going well. They work well. I've taken a couple shots myself on them. However, there does seem to be an everlasting shortage of recess equipment like soccer balls, basketballs, footballs. But basketballs actually,
I
I'll
think basketball.
delete that one because there's a whole lot of basketballs, but soccer balls, there's always some argument going on or over who gets one of the two that we have.
I think that's.
So, but I don't know if that's a board thing. So moving on.
It could easily be a board thing or a foundation thing. If you guys put together a list, I'm sure we could find.
So I know we have new soccer balls. So
Yeah, that's what I was gonna add. It's like.
I 100% know we have new soccer balls. I know that the PE teacher in January had stored some of them away just to like preserve them because we get kicked over the fence. I didn't know that we were lingering without soccer balls right now, so we can fix that problem. Yeah. We only have like 2 or 3, but it's going well for now. The dance went great. Everyone loved the dance.
So a
All
lot of
positive.
positive feedback from that. I think everyone's mainly happy that the students are after Valentine's Day, and then we had the dance recently, and now we're having a minimum day. So lots of positive feedback this week. And another request that we get a bunch of the time is more minimum days and spirit days.
Every time we mention someday, the whole, like, every student in earshot. It's like very good. Something.
We're gonna have more minimum days. I don't think that would be an issue at all. Some smaller concerns would be filters in the water fountains.
Yeah, so we're very happy. Everyone's very happy that the water fountain downstairs is fixed. It's very convenient. However, I believe the one up here is like yellow filter status, whatever that means. And I haven't checked the one upstairs, but last time one was bad, the other one was bad. So yeah, we have gotten a little bit of feedback about that. But other than that, there isn't much. That was,
Yeah.
there's a lot of positive stuff going on.
I definitely think still STEM is. But I don't know, it's not something we can really control, we have a pretty good sub right now. but
Yeah.
we can-
So it's pretty good.
Yeah, that's kind of a short summary.
Is she a long-term sub or she's this?
It's on my report. I'll go.
Okay.
Can I ask on the, thanks for the report, can I ask on the PE equipment, how would you describe so is this like just an ever?
So
It's the bulk of.
pretty much, yeah.
Done.
But I can back up that there are plenty of soccer balls in the shed. But we are definitely trying to preserve them, which means it's hard to have out there, but.
Not all the students are the most careful with the equipment.
Some kids like kick it over and then they just go play on something else. Don't tell anybody, we don't know it's wrong.
So I think maybe that's a bit of an issue, like trying to have students have more respect for their equipment.
So like, we're in the best spot we can be, honestly, with that, like we have stuff to play with, you know, it's not like there's nothing. Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you. Josh, financial report.
So today, as you'll see on the agenda, there's the second interim. That's what we're going over today. The piece of it, if you look towards the end of the agenda where you'll be approving items, that is what we're going to talk about is item C on the approval section, which says approval of 2022-23 second interim. So I'm going to present that information now, and then you'll be approving it later. So a couple things, just background, what the second interim is, it is a financial document that will go to the district. It looks like this. It's a couple pages, it's on the very back. It's not the most reader-friendly template, but this data is the data from July 1st, 2022 to January 31st, 2023. And this template is going to get sent to the district as just a piece of compliance. You have to send in a first interim and a second interim, and the board has to essentially acknowledge that they saw the second interim. So that's what we're doing today. You guys are acknowledging the data on this form that's going to get sent to the district. Now, there's not really, like, you can't really reject it or anything like that because it's just informational, but it's the district wants it as a piece of compliance to say that you guys noticed it. So rather than trying to get you guys to look at this and explain this, all the information is summarized in this board packet that we go over every month. So I'm just going to talk about this, and you'll have to trust me, or you can cross-reference me if you want. But the data on here, summarized for reader's sake, is represented on here. Yeah.
Are these boxes purposely blacking out whatever information is in there or not? It's not highlighted and we just can't read it out.
It's blacked out because when the district sends it to the schools, they don't want you to be confused that you should be putting something there. So they are legitimately blacked out, not for your sake, for the district to us. Yeah, so that's that template. So I'm just going to read off this report because I think most of the important information, at least from your guys' perspective, is on this report. So once again, this is the data from July 1st, 2022 to January 31st, 2023. And so if you turn the page, the first part is the financial summary. A lot's going on here. A couple things that I do want to bring to your attention. So first thing, all the numbers, the budget that you guys last approved, they're based off 234 students enrolled with an ADA rate of 223. So I have a note right below it that points out that that's a 95% attendance rate. The last time we spoke with the school is that the school is trending more towards the 90%. So that's a big, or could be a big drop. This number will finalize sometime around April 15th. So whatever number it is around April 15th, that's going to be what your ADA is. And the main point of me bringing this up is that the ADA percentage is lower than what the budget is on here. So these numbers, all the budget stuff that we've approved and all the budget that's in this information could probably be greatly, well, depending on the degree, negatively affected. So definitely wanted to point that out.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
It is saying that our enrollment is kind of, I know the enrollment is a little bit lower than we wanted, but it's really just the number of people that are showing up every day is lower than we're expecting because they're sick or they're going on vacation or they're.
Yes.
Exactly right.
Okay, so that's a tricky issue.
Yeah, and another piece, and since you asked that, just to make sure everyone knows, you could enroll 100 students tomorrow. But that's not 100 ADA that you could earn.
Right.
You could only earn from now till April 15th-ish around there, that much of a percentage of the year's ADA.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the enrollment number is not super important at this point. It's really like people coming to school as
That's
much
more
as they can.
behavioral and health, probably sickness, but that's more of a behavioral issue than.
Correct, yep. So the next section just talks about revenue. Right now, if you look at these numbers, the revenues look good, but the thing about everything is it catches up in the end, kind of like they're fronting you money now, but they'll true it up at the end of the year. So even though it looks good as of January, there's a lot of things to be concerned about, mostly like the ADA that I just mentioned. Since we've last talked with Michael and Chris, who aren't here today, there was talk about like, okay, well, maybe there's additional funds, the building funds related to the foundation that could help out, but that was left off just as a potential. The expense section, this area, there are a couple areas that are causing the budget to go over at this point. Things such as the meals. I think we talked about this last time. And I'm not sure if there's a progress update on that, but the issue is the schools are being forced to offer free lunch to everyone. For a school of your particular demographic, you're not actually cashing out on a reimbursement 100%, while other schools of particular demographics are. And so you guys are eating a greater cost that isn't currently being reimbursed for. So that is really hurting the budget at this point. And I think the school admin team is just working on like seeing what can they get reimbursed. But for the meantime, this is a trend that's only going to get worse. So right now, that meal plan is costing you $25,000 over the budget, and it's going to get worse unless there's some type of reimbursement coming in. So that's one point that I have noted in here. Another point that I have noted in here, we did the musical instruments, about $14,000 that was not budgeted for, so that's costing some expense. Also, some sped expenses.
It came from a grant, Josh. It should be.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's fine. Then in regards to this budget, then that's why it's partially going over. Expenses in sped, there, some sped higher needs that were not budgeted for. This one's kind of tough. You can't really anticipate your needs. So we'll see how that shakes out. I know Devin and Natalie, we're looking into some stuff, but that is another reason the expenses are trending at this point over budget. So that's the summary. I know I talked a lot there. I'll just briefly show you guys these things in the numbers. So if you go over 2 slides to the one that says actual to budget summary, this is where you're seeing those numbers. So on that slide, there's the total budget column that's about midway through the slide. That's the budget that the board approved. So the budget that the board approved, just to remind you guys, it proposed that the school is going to end this year in a deficit of $116,585. That's the number on the bottom. So unfortunately, all the things that I mentioned about expenses running high, ADA coming in lower, those would all make that number worse. So just want to make you guys aware of that. It could get, who knows, at this point, it's kind of early to tell, but a lot of things are shaking out. It could get a lot worse. So that -116 at this point may be misleading. But nonetheless, all that to say, you'll see that in the actual section, the second column to the right, where the net income, so the school as of now has a positive $216,000 balance. What we budgeted at this point was $11,290. So the variance is a positive 204. So the school's actually currently doing better than what we budgeted for at this point. But the big confusing thing is all these things get trued up at the end of the year. So just because you're doing well as of January, all that really matters happens June 30th. Does that make sense?
And really April, because that's our ADA.
That would be your ADA, yeah. But as far as like spending goes and other loose money, June 30th, yeah.
Go back to the ADA at 95%, and what is the 5% difference in terms of
Yeah, so,
money that we're losing out of 5,000?
yeah, so it's kind of, let me say this, so it's at two, so I don't have I can do the math right now, but if we're saying 234 enrolled times 95 gets you to 223, so if someone has a calculator, we can do 234 times 90. I don't know if someone wants to get that, but the main point is each ADA is worth about, for easy math's sake, give or take, depending on the student, $10,000.
210.
So 210, so 210, we're at 213. So if we do 223 minus 210, that's 13 ADA lost. So 13 ADA times 10,000 is how much you could theoretically lose. Just high ballpark number.
Trying to think whether we can actually invest in encouraging attendance. We have $10,000 incentives to bring in those 5%, then we'll pick up at 200,000.
We have talked about some incentives for something, so we're gonna.
I can make that push.
Yeah.
Josh, I mean, obviously in a vacuum, it's challenging, but from a macro level, do you see other schools? Do you see patterns? Do you see trends along the same lines?
Without a doubt, yeah, the attendance is taking hits across the board and even, in the state and stuff. I think the hardest thing with your school in particular is because of the demographic that you guys serve, you miss out on a lot of money that other schools are eligible for. So that's also a harder thing. And I've talked about this, not to bring this up. I mean, there are certain things like the lease, right? That is for the amount of students that you guys serve, it probably, from comparing with other schools, doesn't. Well, I don't want to say that, but you get the point. Without me. So things like that are also against not working in your favor. Because to speak to that a little bit more, but because if you were in a lesser demographic, you could get reimbursed for your lease to a large amount, where other schools that have that demographic do get reimbursed and you leave money on it. So one last thing that I do want to just make sure you guys are aware. So, we are talking about a deficit, our budgeted deficit of 116, as I've mentioned. Now it could get worse. So if you look at this balance sheet right here, you do have $1.4 million in cash as of July. When you look at the total liabilities, like the current liabilities are essentially if something happened, you'd have to pay all that out. That's only $300,000. So you'd be left with a $1.1 million cash balance, which is good. But you kind of factor like we have a $1.1 million cash balance at this point. If we have a negative 200,000 for the year, you could just chalk that up as cutting into your cash balance. So that's the main thing I wanted to bring up with that. Other than that, so though, as I mentioned, just to recap, all those numbers that I just went over, that's going into your second interim, that's going to the district. It's a compliance piece, and that'll be something you just approve, acknowledging to the district that you saw it at the end of the agenda.
So Josh, is it
Good.
like trending? It's the -110 that's budgeted plus the looking like possibly another 130K from ADA.
Just based off that quick math,
Yeah.
yes, just for your idea, yeah. But I mean, a lot can change from now till the end of the
Beyond
year.
that, there's also the school for lunch
Correct.
thing.
Correct, yeah. So just because we did the 88, that doesn't exclude, like you just said, the lunch we talked about and the sped student stuff. So could be even worse, unfortunately.
Any other questions for Josh?
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank
Have a
you.
good rest of your night.
Where are we? Teacher liaison report, Turner.
Yeah, we've been well represented by teachers tonight, so I don't have much to add. I think they what they expressed is representative of how a lot of the teachers are feeling tonight. So I don't really have anything too much to add tonight. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Office Administrator report, Natalie.
I just have a quick update for enrollment. With new applications being open, I'll start with new applications for the 23-24 school year. So far, we have 70 applications. And the breakdown is we have 22 for kindergarten, 7 in first, 4 in second grade, 6 in third grade, 7 in fourth grade, 9 in fifth grade, 10 in sixth grade, 5 in seventh grade, and 3 in eighth grade. Mr. Phillips is holding on-site tours, so we have those posted on our website. We're about 2 weeks in, so it's a pretty good turnout so far. We usually have about 100 this time, but it's not too far off, and we still have about a month and a half left of time for people to submit new applications. So hopefully we can get those spots filled for next year. This year's school enrollment, we've lost a couple of students. We lost a kindergartner, so we have a total of 19. We have 1 offer out, but we have no one on the wait list. We have 22 in first with an offer out and no wait list. And then we have 28 in second grade with 3 on the wait list and 2 offers out. Third grade, we have 24, and we have still 3 on the wait list with offers out. Fourth grade, we have 22, and we have 3 offers out and no other wait list. And then fifth grade, we have 6 on the wait list. In sixth grade, we have 28 in the class, and we have 2 offers out, but we have 8 on the wait list. Seventh grade, we have 23 with 9 on the wait list. And eighth grade, we have 25 students with no wait list.
Sorry, what was the 5th grade total?
The fifth grade total is 23 students.
Thank you.
And we're running at a total of 219 students.
Is now a good time to talk about the marketing?
We can talk about marketing.
Yeah, I think we might as well. Since it all.
So, the final drafts have finally come through. They have been moved on to the person that's gonna like do the printing process. My understanding is pending a couple things that we're working on for actually the mailing process. Because we're a non-for-profit, we can send our mailers for like 11 cents each versus what the normal price would cost. So for like 30,000, we can send them for like $3,300 kind of. So we're going through and checking on those numbers right now. And the hope is that they go to the printers by the end of this week, and they're being sent out sometime next week. So that's where we're currently at. As I've said before, things don't always process the speed that they're supposed to, but that's the trajectory we're currently on.
What's the quantity?
I will have a better understanding of that tomorrow as I'm meeting with the printer to finalize the numbers in the zip codes that we're going to target. Because there's like 1,263,000 families or something like that in San Diego County. So if we were to hit that, it would be a lot more for us to send out to everywhere. So we're gonna have to target some CDs. And that's gonna be decided tomorrow. So they're going to the printer. We're deciding where we're. Who's helping with that?
Yeah, so who on the board saw the drafts or?
Zach seen the drafts, the final draft, before it went out, and all the adjustments again I talked about with Dave.
Okay. But I was pretty hands off. I was under the impression that Kate and Daniel were plugged in on that. Saying that not so much, or?
Oh, no. I mean, I gave feedback to the first one and haven't heard anything back, so.
All the feedback was utilized.
Yeah, I just gave it a once over to make sure there weren't any glaring issues, but other than that, I think time is of the essence and we need to get them out. When do we have a list that's well?
Yeah, you wanna come?
Yeah, what time?
I think it's 11. Let me double check.
Yeah.
Well, I'm confident it's from 11 to 11:30, but it's not showing up on this calendar. Sometimes I find that.
Natalie, we're trending pretty close to where we've been the typical year without any sort of marketing push. There's a chance then. If this stuff goes to the printer. Yeah, if it goes out within the next 10 days, so call it the end of February, then mid-March. We could start seeing a boost. That's the idea. I know I'm not putting you on the spot, I'm just kind of spitballing here. Does that timing sound reasonable though? I mean, if we go to the printer end of this week, trying to finalize the zip code, get it out, hopefully the following week, so really like March 1. Then within a couple of weeks, we should start to get some feedback.
Yeah, I mean, the goal would honestly be after sending within like that first week, because what's gonna happen is they're gonna be in the mailboxes 2 to 3 days after they get, sent out. And then the hope is that, so we'll look for, our markers will be how many people use the QR code to get to the enrollment page. And so that will be our first marker that we'll use to see how effective it was. And the second will be how many of those from the QR code to actual conversion into.
And at the same time, we're also doing banners and what else?
We're gonna add to our social media push just during that period of time.
There's also some discussion in years past about actually making visits to neighborhood preschools with potential kindergarten families that are incoming, that may also have siblings. But I don't think that.
We've also discussed farmers markets. It's like farmers markets instead of food stations.
So have you guys talked about the preschool idea?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, we haven't made motions on this, but I could.
The other idea would be the K-5 schools,
Because the middle schools.
looking for middle schools.
We do have quite a bit that apply in 6th grade. So a lot of families that are not happy with their neighborhood school after the 5th grade, they look for other options if they don't like their feeder school or their neighborhood school. So we do have quite a bit of applications in 6th grade, usually. So that's a good idea too.
All right, Natalie, thank you. No, kind of went off on another topic, but it's all related. Moving on the agenda, there are no more questions for Natalie. IT report, Christian.
Hello. So great news on the robotics program. Here's an update on how it's going. The program has been a huge hit with the kids and they are really enjoying learning about robotics and coding. And the 1st and 2nd grade students are working on the Dash coding program, which is helping them prepare for a more advanced projects in the future. For example, in 3rd grade, students are currently working on a maze project that is helping them develop important teamwork and collaboration skills. Meanwhile, 4th and 5th graders are busy creating their own Scratch game, which is helping them to think critically and improving their coding ability. And in middle school, students just recently completed a catapult project that challenged them to work as a team and think critically and learn from trial and error situations. Overall, the robotics program is running smoothly and has been a great success. The students are engaged, learning and having fun while they're developing important skills that will serve them in the future. Additionally, I have started the 5-year technology plan for Old Town Academy. I have continued collaborating with Mr. Phillips on making the necessary changes or additions to ensure that the plan will improve and guide the schools, teachers and students towards a better and safer learning environment. By working together, we can ensure that the plan aligns with the organization goals and that any necessary changes are made to promote a smooth and effective implementation. This will help the schools stay up to date with the technology trends, improve digital infrastructure, and ensure that teachers and students have access to the latest tools and resources to support their learning. It is also encouraging to see our focus on creating a safe learning environment, which is crucial for students to thrive both academically and personally. I also have created a student digital citizen program. The Student Digital Citizen Program is a program that teaches students about appropriate and responsible behavior online, as well as how to use technology safely and ethically. This might include lessons on topics like cyberbullying, online privacy, and digital footprint. By providing this program to students, Old Town Academy can help them develop the skills and knowledge they need to navigate the digital world in a responsible and safe manner. This can also help promote a positive school culture around technology use, which can have a long-term benefit for the organization. And that is my report.
Wow. A lot. Thank you. Do we have any questions for Christian?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, real estate advisory panel update, Mr. Walker McBride.
All right, I'll be as succinct as possible, but not too much updates. To recap, we've identified close to 77 locations in the past 2.5 years. Getting close on a lot, unexpected pitfalls on a couple. As it stands right now, as it relates to new prospects, Colliers, who's our brokerage arm, or Unified's brokerage arm, has recently set out the third of their letter writing campaigns going out on January 30th. So based on the history of the letter writing campaigns, 2 weeks to 3 weeks afterwards is when you start getting responses from it. So the plan and the hope right now is that we'll get a flood of new prospects, understanding that the market isn't as hot for purchasing right now with interest rates. We do have the money in the bank, so to speak, from a purchasing standpoint. And then from a reoccurring plea for new potential listings, pocket listings. I'm seeking if there's anyone that wants to be a counterpart to start, specifically with real estate, specifically in the commercial space. I'm not going anywhere, but it's from the standpoint of the more the merrier, strength in numbers from a search standpoint. And it's not anything from an official capacity, but if you do have, you're passing by a location, you're at a dinner party, et cetera, feel free to pass along suggestions to me, formally, informally, however you want to be it. The promise of the letter writing campaign and the promise of the timing for where we are right now in the market as it relates to interest rates does bode well for us. The specifics on locations, there isn't one at the top of the list like there was in prior months, but the search will continue and it'll go on. So any suggestions, gladly send them my way.
Any questions for Walker?
So somewhat, I'm trying to think in terms of a comfort in terms of places that we're looking.
Yeah, you know what, I'll share with the board and anyone else that wants to sit through my very sexy spreadsheet of locations that we've already gone to, stipulations on there's like a Colliers overlay map where do's and don'ts of fault lines, cannabis, pipelines of areas we can't touch. And I did share that with the prior board, but it's a good reminder that I haven't done it for this board as well. So I'll follow up with a more detailed the criteria involved and also some locations from a redundancy standpoint so that we aren't looking at some place that we've already gone down the road. And I've got all of those with notes involved with or notes attached to the certain locations that we've already pursued.
So yours is saying there's not now someone looking similar models where we work with the communities where we do have some,
Yeah.
And there are some locations, I think in the university that they own.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what they're also looking for.
Yeah, I mean, it's anecdotal right now, but like the Linda Vista area was appealing from that standpoint. And there are some pockets that are just non-starters from a fault line standpoint, but it's the reoccurring pattern in the past 2 years was a place identified, developer scoops it up, liquid purchases it within days. And we have to go through a little bit more detailed process with CEQA, with the board, not our board, San Diego Unified City Schools Board as well. And so those systems in place have been a hindrance to us from a speed of offer. And then even with that offer in place, it didn't immediately assure us of anything, because someone could come in with a higher offer as we go through our San Diego Unified School process. You know, the opportunities that have arisen in the past couple months, the past couple years, have been not on the market real estate properties that have been either pocket listings or come through someone knows that there's potential to go, that they're considering going on the market for it.
So the letters are going to realtors or?
They're going to owners of properties, and sometimes that property might not be interested, but that owner may have another location elsewhere as well. And it's got all the specifications and it's saying who it's for. Again, you know, we're canvassing a larger area now than we have in the past. And I will happily take a deep breath and explain Ballard right down the road, Fremont, that everyone drives by, and it's kind of like our white whale. You know, it's so close that there's stuck in San Diego Unified politics, and also the potential for teacher housing, which isn't an immediate solution or maybe immediate shovel on the ground yet.
We're casting a wide net. So any and all opportunities, yeah, if the USD has any programs or facilities that they're looking at, we're all, you know, we're welcome to any suggestions. So more creative, we've gotten really close a few times, whether it was from our relationships or just stumbling upon a site, and fortunately I haven't been able to get it done, but we're trying everything.
I know there's a couple of student housing up there. And they're trying to decide whether to do more, but do that half.
We're really good neighbors.
I mean, yeah, I mean, Linda Vista and USD, to open up old wounds, we had a location very close to USD, and just the access to potential students for teaching purposes, the access to the Humane Society for after school programs, just the opportunities there are still appealing, that location, absolutely.
Yep. All right, any more questions? All right, jumping into board discussion. My turn. Okay. One thing it's not on here, but just to set the stage, it's only February, but the board elections are going to come up in June, before we know it. So if you know anybody, please go out, tap shoulders, start getting some conversations going, because we're going to have some turnover on the board. We've had some people that have been here for a long time that have been really valuable contributors. We don't want to lose that knowledge, and it would be great if we could have some younger members, new members that haven't been part of it, that can help provide a new energy to the board. So I'm just making a plug. If you know anybody, if you think of anyone, please just start getting that discussion going, because it's going to come up quick.
Yeah, and to that point, I mean, most of the board members have kids in older grades, so the, you know, kindergartens, first grades, second grades, you know, it seems like it's a big jump to go to the board. I did foundation on the board, but it just takes the motivation to want to help the school. It's pretty simple. It's not like we had to pass some giant tests to be a board member. So yeah, if the solution driven speech or repetition, I keep saying this is a solution to help out with the school from a board member standpoint. So if anyone just echoes Zach's point, tap on the shoulder or come see us, or just nominate yourself in June.
All right, now to my next topic. There is an attachment in here for JC Educational Services. That is for Mr. C, former principal, now turned, he still works in education, but also does a lot of leadership training and sort of consulting for schools and for administration. And actually, Andresa last meeting gave us a little visual representation of kind of how things have evolved over the last few years, just with COVID, with the turnover that we've had from Mr. C to Dr. Reed to Laura to Devin, and how we've all been struggling to kind of connect with the aspirations of OTA and some of the things that worked really well in the past, some of the lessons that we learned, some of the battles that we had previously fought, and really just providing that resource, that history. So I reached out to Mr. C. Devin's been working with Mr. C throughout the fall, and I asked him to kind of put together a consulting framework for him to come help us kind of bolster what we've got going here, work with our administration, and really kind of connect us with the things that worked in the past. So put together a scope of services. It's pretty general in some instances. It provides some flexibility. But I think it's something that we're all excited about, the ability to bring him back on a limited basis, just to kind of help provide that legacy knowledge. And so this is something that we're gonna be voting on later on. Candidly, it's something that we could have approved without bringing it to the board, but we thought in the interest of people kind of whispering or rumor mongering, just have total transparency. Mr. C is a resource, and we think that he and Devin have already been working closely together, and we think it's just an asset to be part of the community. So he will be around on a limited basis going forward. I think he's on here. Yeah. So Mr. C, you can speak a little bit more. I've been kind of stumbling my way through it, but if you want to say any words as to what that scope will look like, we're excited about it.
Yeah, thanks, Zach. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can.
Yeah.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'd like to say hello to the two most important people in the room, Elle and Jonah. Hey, guys, I miss you. I don't want to get emotional, but you are definitely the best part of my experience at OTA, being with you and the other students.
Thank you, Mr. C. It's good to hear you both together.
And I'm glad you finally made some shots, Jonah, and when he was back. I'm not sliding you, Turner. I miss you too. So yeah, I've been doing a lot with Cal State San Marcos and then some consulting. I came in a little bit late to the meeting today. I agree with a lot of what the board member said. It's disheartening to hear some of the things that are going on. So that only wants me to be involved more, because I know what OT is and can be, and the pieces are there. So I'm just offering as a resource, as Zach said, and a support system for the leadership team at OTA, and I'm not coming in to fix anything. That's not my role, is to assist and support all the pieces that are already there, because we don't want to have a sinking ship, as was expressed by Jennifer. We really want to sail this, and the capacity is there, and I'd be honored to be a part of it. And on the side, I suppose I could be a campaign manager for Kate Johnson, board president.
Don't you dare.
So yeah, my services, if approved, I can start in March, and it is general as that I've expressed, to allow some flexibility, some latitude on what comes up, and especially when we put out some surveys to the stakeholders, because I do want to hear from the students and the parents and the staff about, okay, who are we, where are we? Lots happened in the last 3.5 years, and so let's get it back now. And really make some hard decisions sometimes, and I think it was Zach maybe and Kate reinforced that standards of behavior and student parent handbook is already there. The piece is already there, and in fact, there's a civility policy in place. And so if that needs to be enacted, then it needs to be enacted, and that's just That's just the reality of things. So I'll provide support and do what I can to get us back on track. Any questions?
That sounds good question.
Yeah, thank you. I've met you personally, but hopefully I will at one point. So I was looking, I don't know, is this the time to ask questions on the MOU or?
I think we can do that when we're actually looking at the approval. But if there's any questions you have that might affect the,
No, well, yeah,
I think with Mr. C will, Mr. C, you're planning on being the call later, maybe, yeah. This is probably-
no, just, I mean, I know that throughout these little big meetings, providing feedback, which is great. I was just trying to see whether there's a need at the end of the services, whether there's some type of executive summary report that encompasses what he's done, so we have that besides the monthly feedback.
Did you hear that, Mr. C?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
I think you guys, is there any sort of ultimate deliverable, like an executive summary, just kind of a final report, essentially kind of wrap it up? Because it says monthly reports in here, but is there a takeaway at the end?
Yeah, I can definitely do a culminating document that would encompass everything, and then also some lead-ins to the fall of the 23-24 school year, because although I would not be assisting in development of the strategic plan, we would be laying the foundation for that strategic plan for the next couple of years. So that culminating document could help set the stage for what happens in the fall.
Thank you, and that's kind of what I had in mind, in terms of just having some type of documentation for who's ever next.
Yeah, and that was part of kind of a larger vision. We talked about a strategic plan over the years. We've been in this sort of fight or flight mode for a while, and now we kind of want to coalesce and start getting that momentum going again as well. So that will happen in the future. I think we've got more immediate needs.
I do have something to say.
Go ahead,
Um,
Walker.
so Mr. C, I'm sure, after this meeting, there'll be lots of people talking and it'll be great. Like, oh, we've got our Mr. C coming back and like an old set of comfortable, cool shoes that we get to wear again. But this only works and it only makes sense if we have the eagerness and the buy-in and the excitement from Devin as well. And we do, and that's awesome. And that to me demonstrates confidence and leadership on your end, Devin. So thank you for that. Because, Mr. C has been through it all, and from a history repeating itself, you're going to hear from him, if you haven't already, some of the same things that he went through that you're going through now. So I commend you from the standpoint of being open and eager to do this.
Thanks, Walker. I appreciate that. It's been told to me by some staff members who've been here, that what I've gone through in the first 6 months is identical to what he went through in the first 6 months. So be interested to get some more perspective on that.
Yeah, I would support that, and Devin and I have talked, and yeah, it was definitely, there's some similarities, and so I would be able to help support him and just share some of my experiences and quite honestly, some of the mistakes I made and some of the successes that, over the course of probably 2 years before we really got our feet under us and got things running smoothly.
Which is a very important point that, whether it's our teachers, we got a lot of turnover in staff. So a big part of this is just looking for continuity, because there are things that, I don't remember. Kate reminds me, other parents remind me, where I go, oh yeah, I remember we did that a few years ago. Because with COVID, a lot of stuff changed. And so everyone's sort of finding their new footing, and especially so with all the new staff that we have coming in. So I think a big part of this is that legacy knowledge, and it's also to have Mr. C, talk about some of the lumps that he took along the way too, and how he got better as a result. So we're excited about it, and that'll be on the board or the action items later in the agenda. Any other questions while we have Mr. C? No? Okay. Thank you.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Moving. Parent Foundation report.
Hey,
You thought you were gonna be late. You got plenty of time.
I feel good about it. We rushed. It's fine. We were very safe in our driving, but yes, I'm happy to make it. So I didn't see the report in here, so I thought you guys would have it for review. But it'll be available to you after, I guess.
You sent that to Natalie, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I-
okay. All right, I should have it. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, for sure I sent it out. Anyway, we'll make sure that you all have it. But just to report out, so in February, we had a little over 20 people at our foundation meeting. The agendas and minutes, as always, can be found in our About Us section on the foundation portion of the website. I do want to just reiterate and highlight, and I was able to hear the beginning portion of the meeting when I was coming in, but similar sentiments were shared at the foundation meeting this month. And I just want to reread a message that we shared during the meeting. Last month, so each month we focus on a different virtue of the school, right? There's 11 different virtues for the school. This month, our virtue was persistence. And we chose to focus on purposefulness and persistence. And just ask that all of our parents, staff, and members of OTA really think about in our communication, what is the purpose of our communication? And just to ask yourself a few questions. After an interaction, is my group left with motivation or frustration? Did I learn anything in this interaction? Was I accepting of other experiences? And how did I help? And I think that last question is something we all need to ask ourselves as we engage with each member of the community, whether they be a volunteer, a staff, a student, a parent. How are we helping? And if we've left that interaction without knowing how we helped, maybe we need to take a step back and reflect and think about our interactions. So I just ask that as a general purpose. I ask it of my kids every day when they leave the house. How are we helping today? I ask myself that often, and I do have to reflect on it myself as well. I think we could all use a step back. So I just echo that for all of us. We have had wins, and I think it's important that we celebrate our wins really loudly. It's important that we continue to move forward and we look for things that we can improve, but again, with purposefulness. So thank you for hearing that. Our next couple of items, February 23rd, we have our next grant review and planning. That is on Zoom at noon for anyone that wants to join that. There's a link on the website. Our next foundation meeting is March 7th at 6 p.m. That is on campus and on Zoom as well. For anyone who wants to listen in or join, that avenue is available at either one of those. Community highlight, our first volunteer mix and mingle was held last month. It was a lot of fun. We had several people show up at home and away. I think those that were able to join had a good time. They were able to get a sneak peek of the artwork for the gala. I heard mention of some questions about our volunteering at OTA earlier. We have started a volunteer tracking system that we are still in the very early stages of, but it involves a QR code. There's some reporting. We're still testing it, and we are hoping to roll that out. We know that there is the 40-hour commitment in our handbook. There isn't a formalized way to view that or process that, or to reward it and to show thankfulness for the hours that people are putting in. So we really wanted to put a mechanism in place for us to be able to reward those families who are providing that help and to give people an avenue just to see how much they're providing to the school. So more on that to come, but it is in the works. We have started that process. Budget highlights. So far for the foundation, we have given our initial installment of the $45,000 to the general school budget, $3,500 in teacher gifts, $3,200 in supplies for things like flexible seating, parking cones, and heart-safe equipment. After the gala, we anticipate that the second general school budget donation will come through. And at this last month's meeting, we also approved 2 additions to the budget to include $11,000 in overages for the school field trips this year. And the additional expenses for the Osprey Tickets Award, which we estimate will be about $200 a month, potentially. We'll see how that goes. The capital grant project is still in need of a point of contact from the school and the board. It's a lingering pause to have someone raise their hand. Yeah, the school only, we don't need someone from the board.
We may, I'm just saying, I'm the school.
Okay, great. So Devin, we'll put you down as the point person. In April, we will have our first check-in for the grant. So it would be good to have an overarching view of what we expect that money to be spent on for the first installment and to be able to have I think, a meaningful plan to provide to them to show them what our intentions are with the funds. So
And this is for the funds that went towards our capital improvements already.
for the funds that went towards the improvements already, and I think it would be good to be able to speak to what our intention is.
Going forward.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah, so I haven't engaged with this group yet in terms of reporting out, but I know it's our first report out. I think it would be good to have someone from each group be able to speak to
Okay.
what we have done and what our intentions are.
I mean, I can certainly do it. I know your husband texted me on the side and reminded me of some of the possible uses that we have for that capital grant, so he could also be a fantastic resource.
I look forward to hearing from the board what their decision is.
All in favor of Michael Talvin?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
I'm kind of volunteering people who aren't here, so,
Exactly.
you know, I can't speak for that. As I mentioned, the next monthly grant review and planning meeting for the foundation will be on the 23rd. For the gala, we do have the letter writing campaign is out. Everyone should have received letters home from their classroom if you haven't already. All of those letters are available on the website as well, both the templates and the letters to go out to the sponsors. If anybody has questions about that, please let me know. If you have sponsors that are interested in hosting a table, sponsoring any piece of the gala, please reach out. Classroom events, fourth grade hosted the staff lunch this past month. The middle school dance was a smashing success. I've seen lots of pictures. That looks like a ton of fun. If anyone gets a chance, Andressa and Ashley worked tremendously hard on that event and really went above and beyond, and we're very thankful for their support. Lunch volunteer signups are being transitioned. Those were not a foundation item, but I know they were supported by various foundation members, and I believe that is being transitioned back to the school. I just want to confirm.
Should have had a transition process that started or occurred today.
Right.
So I believe that was where we're at with that.
Great, thank you. So if you'll just let me know the confirmation of where that is, so that when people reach out, we know to where to direct them. Okay, great. I do also want to acknowledge that our volunteer coordinator did meet with some of the room parents and our principal before the foundation meeting this month. That was spearheaded at the parent level. My understanding was that meeting was successful and felt good in the room, and I'm not sure if other comments are there now, but I believe that meeting was meant to be supportive. Okay, additional information. Fifth grade is still evaluating their options for their school community night. They were looking into a potential skate night. Graduation prep is underway and new caps are being ordered and the gowns are being reviewed. The graduation will be returning to the church venue, which is the venue that it was out at pre-COVID. That's all I have. Thank you to everybody who entrusts their kids here. Thank you to everybody who reaches out and uses their voice to try to improve our school.
Thank you, Claire. Thanks, Claire. Any questions? No? Okay. Moving on to the very lengthy principal report.
I'm sorry, before you get there, I do have one question. The 11,000 for the field trips, which field trips are those? The middle school field
Yeah,
trip?
they support 6th, 7th, and 9th grade trips.
Thank you.
Quick one. Maybe previous graduation, what has been the attendance numbers? 100, 300, but.
I don't
For
know
our
the
graduation?
number for the graduation attendance. I don't know that number.
Did you mention one's coming up in at the church?
How many is in your class? 25. So if we reach 100, that would be a pretty good number.
I think we were at around 100 last year.
It's usually like 100 or 150 chairs we reserve, so.
Yeah, because it's probably parents, grandparents, like a couple of aunts and uncles.
I
siblings.
remember.
Yeah.
It's a lot of chairs.
You have a site for the one.
Yes, yes, it is returning to the church venue here in Old Town.
We found out we had a deposit that had been put in there, so we could go.
Yay!
We forgot to mention one thing in our report. Is that okay to do it now?
Talk to them, not me.
Excuse me.
If it's so much turn outside and then there's the foundation.
Yeah, fine, I'll allow it. Go ahead, what do you got?
So. Cool recommendation, suggestion from some of my classmates. And in the past, 8th graders have made like a mural on a big tarp, so some sort of gift, like dedication to the 8th grade class.
They're all in the cafeteria.
Yeah, you can see them
there's pretty cool
downstairs,
stuff down there.
it's like where each person does a block or they all contribute to it. So I thought that might be a cool thing for the 8th grade class to do.
Could I propose a semi-similar but alternate plan?
Absolutely.
We have what I would call a famous piano top that I would love for you guys to do it on.
Okay, that'll be awesome.
And make that our installment.
Oh, wow.
That's a cool idea.
Good idea.
Pretty much it.
Hey, I take it you know the famous piano top.
Just breathing through.
That's the only thing left from it.
We own it.
There's a pass on it.
I guess we didn't teach like for this purpose.
We own it.
Got it. Devin.
Okay, so starting with building repairs, I'm happy that the students have noticed, we did have the water fill-up station, updated downstairs. That was a request that originally came through the foundation. But we also were hearing it from kids, they didn't have the ability to get the water that they would like, at lunch and at recess, PE. So we had that fixed, and that was done, earlier this month. So that is good to go now, and I will check up on the filters. Well, I will actually check them. I'll have them check upon. Also, our ceiling tiles, although as I look through here, I found some disappointments to it. There are still some sticky note ones. We found that the ones that have certain electrical things in it, we need a contractor to do, not our staff help. So they'll be doing the sticker ones. The other ones, with my understanding, although as Turner and I were sitting here, there's a couple that are either new or I got questions about. They have been replaced all on the first floor at this point and all on the second floor, except for Mr. Maxey's office. And second grade, we have found a spot that we thought we had fixed a leak that seems to have returned after the rain. So we need to do some research on where it came from. But all the ceiling tiles, that's been a big push the last 2 weeks that we've gotten through. In addition to that, all of the hooks of student bags have been replaced and are, according to Mr. Christian, 280-pound weight limit at least, because he helped pull tug down on them to make sure they were in place. So we should have, that should be an upgrade as a lot, especially in the, what I call it 8th grade hallway has been like worn down. Next on the list of that, although we have not started this, our door stops. We have a lot of door stop issues. So these were just really small repairs that our in-house people could do that we felt like were really improving some things, and our exit signs have been updated as well. Next project that we're asking to take on, or that we're getting ready to take on, is a light outside on the field. During foundation meeting, it was brought to our attention that during pickup at the YMCA, it's really dark out there, and there isn't the ability to really see who's at the gate, who's coming to the gate. So we're gonna put a light out there to help that process. Currently, I'm having the contractor give me 2 different quotes. One that is a flip-on light that we can flip on and off, and another one that just turns on at nighttime to see what the different cost is on those and how we can operate it. But in doing so, we found electrical that was already streaming through there, so it's gonna be a lot less cost than we originally thought it was gonna be. Then the 4th thing I have on there is a backstop. Andressa had brought it to our attention a couple times, the need for a backstop with the soccer ball, the loss of soccer ball issue that we are regularly encountering. However, a more glaring issue that I see, even than the loss of soccer balls, is that we have a neighbor at the end of our area whose window keeps getting hit and whose dog has major anxiety from the things that are going on outside. And I get a call about twice a week about us not being good neighbors, and so I do think it is like a protective piece at this point to kind of preserve anything that we may break, because it is difficult to monitor all the kids with all the balls going all different directions and make sure that nothing gets tossed up there. So I do think that, and I didn't know it was an actionable item, so there's a reason. I assume it came from you, Zach, that there's an actionable item at the bottom of this for that.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, that was news to me. So
I mean.
yeah, I was just bringing it to the attention as this is something that we need to look into and seriously take some precedent on it. Now, my understanding from Andressa is she was pricing these out because she was looking to donate this to the school. The problem was that contractors basically said it was like too easy of a job and there wasn't enough money in it to actually take the time to build this for us. So we're gonna have to find somebody, which I assume would be our in-house that would.
I would say you can bundle it with the lighting thing. Because what I heard was it's along the street side where we want to do 2 poles and basically pull a screen.
That was the Andressa's thing, but I'm finding there's a lot bigger issue with what's happening back here, because we're hitting cars with balls, we're hitting the apartment with balls, we're hitting the window with balls.
And that rollaway backstop we have is insufficient.
It's only about this much taller than the fence, max, so
Yeah, but if we're gonna build something, how much taller is that gonna be? Because
at
that's,
least to cover that window,
how tall is that
probably
approximately?
20, 30, 25 feet, 30 feet. It's higher than a free throw for sure. It's definitely in the 20s.
And that happens twice a week.
I get a call or email from the same lady. She lives in that corner window and she's not happy. She's not happy. And we keep doing, I keep going through the playground rules. I keep meeting with the playground people to talk about eyesight, but I'm still getting the calls. And they're progressively becoming more demeaning towards our students. And so I don't want that image of our students out there.
I just know in the past, actually, that Mr. C did a ton of research trying to figure out this issue, so he might have some.
We'll be talking about it, Mr. C.
I don't know if he's.
He's probably gonna put Mr. C in a headlock because she reminds us that it's been a couple of years.
Yeah, it's true. So just, it might be a resource for things they've tried, things they know they can't do, whatever.
That's a good point.
So that's kind of it on building repairs. There have been other small repairs that have occurred, but nothing glaring, nothing big. But we are going to tap into some of the capital funds to cover some of this stuff, especially the stuff that came out in the foundation meetings. Update on STEM. I want to start by saying, like, we are actively searching every day. I mean, this is something that is a grind at this point. Sounds very similar to the building process. We've been on the goal line at this point in actually hiring someone multiple times. In the state of California, and apparently in other states also, but in the state of California, if a science or math teacher specifically leave a school, anytime a teacher under contract leaves a school, the school has the ability to pull their credential. In science and math, those are really hard teachers to find. So the teachers that have been applying to the job, we've been offering the job to, or we're getting ready to have a second interview with, they're going to their administrators, having a conversation with them, and their administrators are telling them they're going to pull their credential, which means they couldn't even come teach for us anyway. At this point, it's been more progressively difficult to find anyone. I will say that at this point, I feel like I've identified a unicorn, and I genuinely mean that. It's somebody that I couldn't even imagine in a perfect world who wants to move from Iowa out here. I had a conversation with her. I shouldn't say interviewed her. I had an initial conversation with her, and she thought she was applying for next year because she's going to move out here right at the end of her school year. So I offered her, because I do have in one of the grants I got some teacher recruitment money to help a person move across country up to $10,000. basically in conversation offered that as a possibility. And she shared that in Iowa, their credential could also be pulled, and her administrator had already told her that. So currently, we do have a sub in place. This person, we're actually waiting back to hear tomorrow officially if this person is willing to take on the long-term sub role, because it has been a positive in the classroom. So we'll know more about that tomorrow, but they have come through a sub-service, and that sub-service costs us more than what a regular sub would cost. So I am looking for alternatives, even though that we have that in place. One thing that I'm a little cloudy about is we do have the intention of Ms. Vickers assisting whoever we put in that position. The goal, however, was for that to be a person that we were hiring, and so that knowledge would continue to flow through the next upcoming years. Currently with the sub, I'm not sure. I think that's a question probably later that I want to know what the thought process is on this person, Ms. Vickers helping this sub person we're going to lose quickly at the end of the year because of the consulting fees and things that would be involved. So, but currently that's where we're at. The job is posted everywhere it could possibly be posted. I've refreshed the posting multiple times just because every time you put a new post out, you get a couple more people. Whereas if you leave it for a month after the first initial wave, you don't see a lot of stuff. So keep reposting it to try to get those waves. But right now the waves are people applying for next year, the people that I'm talking to when I'm calling them. So I wish I had something better to say, but we are, Natalie and I have been doing the lesson plans and making sure that we're NGSS aligned, and also producing a lot of those lesson plans, because currently that is kind of where the sub is. The sub wants the lesson plan provided to her. She doesn't want to have to do that as an additional piece. So that's been something now. Any questions about that before I move past that one? So I have a lot of information, but I want to update.
Are we? I guess I'm unclear. I don't see an action item on here to have Ms. Vickers help. Are we just making that determination?
That one's less than that needs to come to school.
Great,
So
thank you.
that was just on me. Any other questions about STEM?
I think just to reinforce, there's a lot of questions about STEM, and then it's been a struggle.
For sure.
It's just very openly, it's something that we hear loud and clear. We also know very well, and I know Devin's working really, really hard because I talk to him like twice a week about this issue, and there's been a lot of movement for a lot of inaction, and we also share your frustration.
So the current state is we have a above average, a good substitute. And that substitute is how long-term, how temporary?
Yeah, we're actually going to find out tomorrow. Basically, when she took on the sub, we originally posted the sub position for the entire year and nobody picked it up. So we reverted back to cover the 2 weeks up until President's Week. Then got her in here and then have talked to her about the long-term sub, and she's basically said she'd give us a final answer tomorrow. From her position. And I think she just wanted to like understand the classroom management, understand the kids, make sure it was something that felt right for her. Sorry, Kate.
That's okay. Would, I mean, it sounds like if she doesn't want to do lessons plans, et cetera, the Ms. Vickers option would be really supportive to her.
So I think
An asset.
100%, I think Ms. Vickers is going to be an asset to whoever's in the place. My concern is that we throw all the resource, Ms. Vickers, and then we're actually asking for that to happen again next year. And so it's just where everybody's at on that. I just am going to get a feel for that on how we move forward. So
If that doesn't work out, what is it? I think there's the admission, maybe like less STEM, more focus on science.
it's the lesson plans we're putting together. While they're STEM based, they're almost all focused in NGSS standards, so which are the science standards. It's all mainly focused on science with the project-based learning aspect to it.
Does that make it easier to recruit if it's just science rather than STEM, or
No, I think that might make it harder. Some of the people who have applied have been multi-subject credential, have had their math credential, and had an engineering path. One of the guys that I offered the job to had been an engineer for 20 years before he became a teacher. So he actually had a math credential and something else. So we were gonna have to work with him to get his science credential, but he fit everything else we were looking for. Yeah. So more science-based right now. Okay, music grant, just wanted to give an update on that. We got that music grant mid-December. At this point, we have ordered all of the instruments, and I believe all but 3 are now in. I saw a ton of ukuleles that came in today, and that was a big piece of what we were waiting on. The 3 pieces that were, the other 2 pieces I believe were back ordered, and we need to order them, so they should be on their way too. So just wanted to update that we have really upgraded our instruments within the building. I think Josh talked about it was $14,000. It's actually closer to 22 that we used to purchase. So some of those purchases probably came a little bit later than what got on the registry. Next, 2 actionable items. Well, technically 3 actionable items that I want to talk about. The first is a school nutrition program for the free and reduced policy. This is something that is mandated through the state to have, and this is a policy we don't currently have. It basically covers what we're doing with our free and reduced and our universal free lunch program that we're dealing with, but we don't have a policy within the board, so that's what this is. So I am asking for us to vote on this, as this is something that is required for a policy for us to have.
Are there any curveballs with this?
No.
Standard language from the state? Or?
It's super standard. It just has to do with the free and reduced nutrition program and how we operate with that and make sure that we are following through with those practices at the school level. Nothing groundbreaking there. It's pretty standard, to be honest. The next thing, there was a recognition, and I take full credit that this was on me. We decided to hire a facilities and support coordinator months ago. I hadn't brought a job description to you guys yet and realized that in the midst of it. So I have put together a job description. This covers kind of got to backwards plan with it, actually, because once we got Mr. Sotelo in, we started utilizing him in many different ways, and so I was able to really outline all of those different ways. Just to outline some of the things that he does, he is what we call basically our emergency sub. So he goes in, hour here, hour there. If somebody needs to leave, if they're sick, he's our immediate coverage. He's our first line of defense, so that all students get seat time accreditation to them with his sub license. He was also was the classroom management coordinator in STEM when that was an issue. That's actually cleared up a little bit, so he's still in there during those period of times, but has pulled back a little bit into that and is a little bit more focused on our facilities and working in the different areas, the ceilings and so on and so forth. He's also does a lot of our supervision, lunch supervision, rival dismissal, helps us in all of those areas, and is kind of best summarized as the utility player for us. Really, whatever we need. He's now taken on the Osprey ticket rewards, as making sure the kids get the recess and making sure we get what they won in process. So again, kind of a utility guy, comes to the cabinet meetings and gives us updates on the different things that are going on in the building. So this is his job description now, and so we'll be asking for approval for that, just because technically we already approved it in a lot of ways, but we just need to kind of formalize that. Any questions about that position?
So when we brought him on, originally, he was supposed to be the support for the STEM teacher that we had, and then I remember the understanding being that he would be kind of the fallback should we need a long-term sub. That's not.
So he is just a sub. He's not a teacher. His background is he was in the Navy. Sorry, he was in the Marines. He was in the Marines. I already say Army and knew that was wrong. He was a Marine for a long time, and then actually worked for me as what would be comparable to an instructional aide at my last school, and then took on the STEM teaching position there under his 30-day sub license, which meant you can keep a person in there for 29 days and then they have to be out of the class and they go right back in for 29 more days. And so he wasn't actually a certified teacher in that position, but had a lot of background in STEM. And his strengths were classroom management. So that's why he was kind of the guy that we sought out under that situation. The plan was not for him to be the fallback long-term sub. The plan was to utilize him as an in-house sub, because that was another problem that I had had identified at the time, is we didn't have anybody. We had Mr. Christian to throw in, but that took away from technology, and Mr. Maxey as the special ed director, and that took away from SPED. So since we were bringing in this person to aid in classroom management, we were utilizing those languages.
So I guess if this person that we're offering the long-term sub to, though, it sounds like this would be an opportunity for him to come in and.
I would not think that would be best for our school.
Sounds like the initial plan obviously changed.
Sounds like it changed, except for you just outlined that that's exactly what you did in the STEM situation before, so I guess. Looking at our issues.
Sounds like that's not, it wouldn't be a good fit.
I don't think that's the direction we should go. Not for the long-term solution we're looking for now. As a support system and classroom management, that's great. But to take on, I mean, again, it would be, he wasn't trained as a teacher. So I think there's a big difference between the person who's been trained as a teacher and the person who can substitute. Nothing towards substitutes. I love substitutes. I just mean I think there's a difference there.
Yeah, that was part of the original intent, was to control the classroom.
Yep.
That was one of the big issues.
Any other questions on the facilities and support coordinating position? Okay. And then the final thing, which is just I come back to, is the calendar. We do still have the 4 options of the calendar, and I want to reiterate as far as the minimum days that are on there. This can be voted for. No minimum days, 1 minimum day a month, 2 minimum days a month, 3 minimum, can be adjusted however. So while I have them all on there, that doesn't have to be how we vote for them. We just need to declare what the vote is that we're looking for. So again, we've got the A, B, C, and D, or the before San Diego Unified, after San Diego Unified, same as San Diego Unified, and then the balanced calendar option that I also put. And that is say it again. Is yours in color?
No.
Oh, that's fine. That's why I was like, it should be. Mine are in. Gotcha. So people not have them in color. Oh, I apologize. I don't know why mine's in color. I must have just got the top copy. I apologize. I just assumed everybody was in color. Not much to go back over with this. We talked about it. If there's any questions, I'm glad to answer, but I just wanted to bring it back up as an item that we're going to look at.
I did have a couple of questions.
Yep.
There's a discrepancy on the different calendars on 10/7 and 10/9. Some of them have 10/7 marked as a day off. Some of them have 10/9 marked as a day off. And some of them have both marked as a day off.
It'll be October 7th, right?
Yeah. I'm sorry, it's October 6th and October 9th.
I need to look at what holiday it is. I'm sorry. I think that might be, actually, I think that's a day that San Diego Unified has it off.
That Columbus Day.
Columbus Day.
Yeah.
Indigenous Peoples Day.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I just was confused as to which one, and then some of them have 2 days that are off, so.
Yeah, so the first one is San Diego Unified, and they're not having it as a holiday, they're having it as an in-service day on the 6th. And then we placed it as a holiday on the other 3 options that we did. So San Diego Unified is the one that doesn't have it on there.
And so you laid out 2023-24 San Diego Unified,
Yes, that's first.
and San Diego Unified this year, basically the same dates for starting what did we start this year in August 25th or something?
We started a week before them.
No, sorry, San Diego Unified. What are they doing? They're trying to.
They're moving it up.
They're moving up and up and up.
For the next 3 years. So you know, my goal is once whatever calendar gets placed here today or voted for, whether it's today or whenever we vote for it. My goal is then to the next meeting to bring the next year's calendar that kind of replicates that, so we can start to get ahead.
Got it.
I think they started the 21st.
Yeah,
They start the 21st.
yeah, and then it's like the 14th, the year after.
I think it's
They're
even more
creeping in.
aggressive.
Yeah, and they creep up to like the 12th in 3 years or something like that, so they're like past the midway point.
They're moving.
Sooner, they
It-
start
yeah,
earlier every year.
it begins at Memorial.
Yeah, one of the reasons we pushed it up last year was to try to start prepping
No,
for
it's
that.
so cold.
I understand.
It is.
I'm okay. I'm okay. I mean,
Cold, too.
it's just really, I just. Like, what are you doing? He just knew it was. I'm not cold. That one, then the other one was, I was looking at was the 3rd of January was holiday observed, right? And then some of them have the 4th. Or whatever the next day is. Some of them don't. Does that make sense?
So, are you talking about the 2nd of January?
Or 2nd of January.
Yeah, so, again, when we look at the, San Diego Unifieds, that is a day that they've made for like a non-instructional day, so they're off school, but their teachers are there. On ours schedule, on, I believe, all 3 of the ones that I create, well, no, 2 of the ones I created, which are the AB schedule, we start back on the 2nd. And then on the balanced calendar, the way it fell for days, I think it just, we inched it in there as like one of those days, as a potential PD day. I apologize, it's been like a month since I put these together, so I haven't kind of trained my brain on.
No, it's okay. I just want to make sure I understood what we were looking at. I'll just say again, I think, looking at this is a little overwhelming to go from the amount of half days that we have right now to 40 half days a year for parents to account for. That's a really big swing for, our families. And it's been suggested several times that we have a half day a month. But when you actually look at our calendar currently, we do have a half day a month, with the exception of November, which we're only in school for like 2.5 weeks or something. And then April as well. Those are the only 2 months that we don't have a half day right now. And so those half days are being utilized as PD days.
Yes, with the exception of this upcoming one, because, the person had to cancel. We had a schedule, and we have, I think I put the rest of it on the schedule for the year as far as what we're doing.
And then, just so that I understand, because I wasn't on the board for the last decision, when ski week was added in, I believe part of the intention was to have a couple of those days be non-instructional days that were used as professional development. Is that part of that decision making? I don't know.
Calendars and favorite topic. Yeah, and the idea was that we have more time built in the schedule, so folks have professional.
So I just want to say, I hear what you guys are saying. What I'm trying to push forward is a schedule that we have the ability to meet at a regular time, to talk interventions, to talk things that need to happen in the school. It's really awesome that there's like a period of time that we have to do this 3 days or something like that. It's great for professional development. But when you're waiting all the way until February to get some of those days for professional development, you're already, halfway done with the year. And so that isn't as supportive, that's not the word I want to use. It isn't as helpful in the professional development area as I feel like we or that. And again, I've got like $25,000 to help really bolster our teachers with professional development each year, this year, next year, and the following year. And right now, I don't have space to utilize that through the teacher contract with our current schedule.
I just would suggest that there's probably a different alternative where perhaps we take the ski week and disperse it a little more evenly so that you have those options. You know, if you're looking at it, that was why I was asking about a couple of days from San Diego Unified, because they did build in a couple of days of non-instructional days that were throughout the year that would give you more of that leeway without having it be, you know, a working mom has to figure out what to do with her kids 40 days out of the school year. It's a lot.
I hear that. I would also respond by saying that San Diego Unified have video days every week in addition to those service days. So the days you're seeing, they get that plus the 40 days.
I hear you. I would hear you, and I would say there's a reason why a lot of parents come to this school schedule versus that one.
Would one day a month move the needle at all? I'm not even saying I'm proposing that, I'm just.
It would definitely move the needle with our interventions, which is where I see the most help to our kids, and that has to be my priority. So it's gonna be the kids first, and then, you know, if there was 2 a month, I think that would be both beneficial to the students with the interventions and then with the teachers. So it would be-
I recall you saying though that that was a difficult schedule to manage with parents.
It is
Each day
difficult.
the half
It is a
day.
very difficult schedule to manage, as I've been on that with the principal, and whoever works the front desk every Wednesday or whatever day is the end of the day gets calls on whether it's noon day or not all day long. So factual.
Yep.
And I think that would be true if we had 1 a month. Like maybe not as frequently, but
What do you mean?
like if we said it's the first Wednesday of the month, we always have a minimum day. I think likely 4 Wednesdays out of the month, we're getting some calls asking if it's that Wednesday. But I don't have anything that's going on.
Would it be more effective if you're able to bundle 2 or 3 days together 3 times a year or something to that, or like a Monday through Wednesday and then?
So that's really great for professional development because we can really build on it in the course of a couple of days. And so that would be good for professional development, likely good. I haven't really set a schedule for intervention that way. I'm sure I just haven't sat and thought through what that process would be.
Intervention, can you just remind us that just sort of folks collaborating and talking about their own experiences with students or problematic or just, you know,
Yeah, so-
situations that they face and how they come together to talk through them or?
Yeah, so we have a process here where there's student action plans. So we're identifying like baseline data with students and trying to understand them, everything from their actual iReady scores to classroom testing to anecdotal data that teachers are pulling in. And so when we see like with our most recent data, there are certain kids who in our school have, you know, the average growth at the January testing should be on a national average 50%. We've got kids who've grown 180%. So almost 2 grade levels worth of growing in the course of 6 months. We also have kids who haven't moved hardly at all. And so the kids who haven't moved hardly at all need to be, we need to be able to spend time to talk about how are we going to get them moving? How are we going to help them with academics? So that process looks like we sit at the big table in my office with all of the teachers around it from K through 8 and the SPED director, myself, the SPED teacher, the music teacher, any academic teacher that we have in this building in any form. And we start to talk about this kid, where the areas are that we need to help them. And then we throw all our educational minds, all our experience at it so that we can start to throw resources at it. Unfortunately, that is a time consuming process that right now we've got an hour every Thursday that we try to pull it off. And we're not even getting through like half of the kids that we would like to talk about in that hour. And so there's a lot of kids that instead of us being able to talk at 2 or 3 kids at grade level, we're talking 1 kid at grade level and getting them help. And so we need some time, and that's why I've asked for these Wednesdays to be able to sit down and have like a 3-hour session of like, how do we help this kid in kindergarten? How do we help these 6 kids in kindergarten? How do we help these 5 kids in 1st grade? What resources do these kids in 2nd grade need? So we can actually, as a team, collaborate and come forward with them. That's the intervention piece that I'm talking about. And that is something that is greatly lacking here currently. And the problem I see with it is a lack of time in order to do it. I've worked at schools where they would bring in, like for us to do it here, we would literally have to have a sub in every every grade level in order to pull it off during the day. But I've worked at schools where they would have like 6 subs come in during these days, and that way they could all converge, and the subs would move throughout the different grades, and we would have the conversations for that. But that's way more financially unstable for us to make that move.
Is that a standard practice with these interventions that the entire, I mean, I can see how valuable.
It's-
Man, it's had gone.
Yeah, I would say it's not a standard practice to have the entire staff do it. The difference is here, we're small enough that having, Mr. Watts as an example, as part of the last meeting, has now been sent in to assist some in kindergarten because we identified needing a male figure in there to help in certain areas. Ms. Miller goes into 4th grade math, as that was an area that we identified. We have, Mr. Sotelo going into areas. We have, we revamped our IAs. Now they go in, Miss I goes into kindergarten through 5th grade during the reading blocks to provide small group support for these kids that we've identified and need a little help. Miss Monica goes into math and does the same thing, 30 minutes at every grade level to try to really bolster those small groups and help those kids. But personal opinion, as the instructional leader, we are missing kids because we don't have time to that.
So this Friday is a half day. Do we have an intervention or PD scheduled?
So we had a PD scheduled, it was restorative practices PD. It would have been our 2nd of the year. Unfortunately, the individual who's leading it was diagnosed with cancer and had. We are having our SOS meeting, which is what we call it, tomorrow during our end of day hour after. And we're trying to revamp it a little bit to break it off. So instead of having the middle school team there like we have in the past, the middle school team is going to be separate, and we're going to work the middle school team. So that way we might be able to get to more kids. But again, from a point of having all the educators around that can help, I mean, Mr. Watts' brain is very valuable at all levels because of his knowledge of ELA, right? And same with Ms. Miller, very valuable in those conversations with kids that are struggling with math. But now the elementary is not going to have accessible to that, we feel like we have to separate it to try to focus in and get to more kids because the kids need to be the priority.
I agree that kids need to be a priority. Also, the parents have to be able to accommodate the schedule. So we're looking at 40 days of minimum days and 33 days off during the school year. If you're a working parent and you have to arrange your schedule, you have 2 weeks of vacation. You have nowhere near the amount of time that you need to accommodate that. So I just want to advocate for that. I wonder if Mr. C would be a resource as to how they fit some of those things in before.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to keep kicking the can. I forget when we typically improve this. I think March, April. Around.
It was like June.
Last year we were like June. So I guess my point is, I don't think we need to be hasty with this decision now, but I think we all have the same trepidation about. We're not clearly gonna do the 40 days. I think that's. So that's just. We are open to talking about how we can be flexible with the schedule, but I think. Well, the feedback that we're getting, that's a non-starter. But if you were to say, hey, look, we could do once a month or 2 times a month or 3 days every 2 months or whatever it is, then we can figure something out.
I'm 100% asking for 3 days a month, like 3 Wednesdays a month, 2 Wednesdays a month, 1 Wednesday a month, like doesn't matter to me. Like I feel like I need it, and what you guys give me, I'll work with. And then honestly, if it works, great. If it doesn't work next year during the calendar thing, we'll come back and ask for another day to say like, hey, this moved us the needle, but we can get even further. So that's where I'm at. As I've shared, this may or may not go out well. I'm a huge Ronald Reagan fan. He always said, ask for everything you want and then take what you're given. And then if you still need more, go back and ask for it. And that is my approach to this. That's upfront knowledge.
I'm not a huge Ronald Reagan fan. That's why we can talk to each other. I think I'm supportive of you asking and advocating on behalf of your staff. I'm hopeful that you guys can, chime in definitely if you think we are ready to vote on this tonight. I think there's probably still some more iterations, but I'm trying to figure out how we can do it in a way that it's not just a volley over email that we're sitting down here a month, scratching our heads doing the same thing.
one thing I would recommend is that we identify what calendar we want to work off. Because if we identify where our start date is and say like, this is the calendar we want to move forward with, let's do that. And then let's look at the different iterations of that calendar that I put together. That feels like the next step in the process.
Yeah,
but I don't know what you guys.
Yeah, I agree. I think we should look at this at two levels. One is A, B, C, or whatever the letters are, and the second one is the half days.
Yep.
The half days seems like that should be the second approach, just because that's a little bit more layered. So, yeah, start banging out letters right now.
Yeah, makes sense.
So my question is, or my first response to that is that this year we tried really hard to move before San Diego Unified, and the idea that we would retain students over that period of time, and that we would get them in and they would fall in love with us and they wouldn't leave. And we had pretty much
The data does not support that.
at all in any way. It did not support that at all. So I don't know how much. Again, going back to the fact that we're not necessarily looking to cater to people who want a San Diego Unified schedule, right? Because those people aren't necessarily the ones that are coming to us. However, they may have other students in San Diego Unified. But I don't know that our reflecting San Diego Unified directly is like that much of a priority. I would just offer that.
I would also say Mr. Watts did a poll of the teachers to see an idea of what they liked as far as calendars, so he has that information.
We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I printed it off for, so they can take it with them, but the most popular day was, letter slate was C, and the second most popular was D. Option C was the most popular, and D was the second most popular.
C is 1 week ahead.
C would be starting on the 14th and ending, the 14th of August and ending May 31st. And then D is the one that has lots of breaks, like the 2 breaks.
Now I'll go back to advocate for working parents again to say that 2 weeks at Thanksgiving and 2 weeks at spring break. That calendar, the D calendar has 42 days of vacation. And that is a lot to ask of our parents. That's 10 more days than we have currently.
Well, the good news is the teachers like C.
Good. But I just wanted to offer that on D.
The main benefit for C was that it was pushed up earlier, but they were able to get out by the end of May, so we're not pushing to June.
Correct. I think coming back to the belief of what happened last year or the end of this school year, right, is that we would start early, we might get some kids, retain some kids. I don't know that that's a bad option to attempt again, but I don't think that that should be the purpose of us voting for it, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Great. Is there a benefit to matching this sending this school district and then so that people that get there, they can have they get this in the schedule?
Yeah, I don't really know the answer.
Sorry.
I'm sure the families that have students that go to other schools, that would be a great benefit to them, but as I sit here, I don't even know what our school population is that has siblings or going to other schools. But I know that there are plenty, but I don't know what that percentage is.
But then you also have parents that like being in a different schedule, because then every time they go on vacation, it's not swarmed with all the kids that are off. So it's,
Summer camp.
There was a fair amount of outcry when we started moving because we always were after Labor Day start. There was a fair amount of outcry from parents that they did not like that. I'll say that. I know our teachers like a little bit of an earlier start to get out earlier.
So it's easy to poll the teachers and see what they want, and it's a lot harder to poll the parents, but I mean, like, I know that there's talk from parents, you guys, the parents represent that, but like, what are we doing to sort of like put that into Wise, like how many parents do this, like have we reached out?
We could try 1 year to do a survey, not we.
I know that no one's, that we don't have much response to it, but I mean, it could be a good thing to try, that we attempted to reach the entire parent population and see what they want.
I think that case out of seeing that last time, yeah.
I think that would be useful once we kind of narrow down the parameters a little bit of what it is that we're looking at. Like, we're looking at start dates, that we're looking,
I mean, I see value in C from the standpoint of it gives some priority to teachers for the start date and end date. And it's also the ability to push back when it comes to half days. And if they're getting those dates that they want, then, we're getting the half days minimized, whether it's once every 6 weeks, once every 7 weeks, once every 8 weeks for the half days, then we're acquiescing to some teacher requests, but from the standpoint of half days, we can push back on that.
from a teacher standpoint, this wouldn't be, the start date wouldn't be the 14th for them, though.
Nope, no, it'd be earlier.
For new teachers, it would probably honestly be I want to say the 4th of August, and then everybody else, I think, comes the 7th. I think they have 5 days, so I'm gonna take that back. I think for new teachers would be the 7th, and for everybody else would be the 8th. I think there's 4 days with them and 5 days with new teachers. New teacher contracts have another day done, and so we make them.
How should I read that the 3 choices? Do you think like option C is not take that off? Like 3? Is that something like think they don't want option C, or they want option C?
Option C was for the first choice, 40 or
No, but it's not like the third choice.
oh, I haven't mentioned, like the third choice was.
I'm just kind of here, like, do they see third choice as the third best, or like?
Third, that, they maybe my polling wasn't the best way to do it. But I don't do,
No, I'm just curious, like,
so I just think
anecdotally, is there any like thoughts on like whether or not that, like, should I read third choice as this is the third best choice, or the third choice? Like, I don't want.
well, I only did the top 3, so I didn't do all the choices, so I think it's the third best. It shows the top 3 out of the 5 options. I mean, 4 options. Maybe I should have done all 4. I can survey them again if we want to.
So they weren't given the option of the first school day?
No, they were given all of the options, and I just said, choose what's your first, second, and third choice.
Oh.
They saw all the options.
So no one voted for the first, for the option A. Oh, is that SDSU?
That's
Yeah,
it.
Okay, sorry,
So
it got me
there's
confused with
only 3 of them.
SDUSD. No, there's 4.
What's the 4th?
There's 4 options.
What it boils down to is, I mean, for teacher's perspective, they want to start earlier, the 14th. Because then the trail off into June, and then it seems like the 21st, the second most popular, then it only goes 1 week into June, and the third, we go all the way to the 28th. Not as popular, it's pushes into the middle of June.
And I'm happy to do like a more logical, how you want the survey to be set up and do it. It takes no time to all the survey teachers and this.
Survey, I like the idea of survey parents.
I'm confused on this, sorry to interrupt you. On the second choice, it actually looks like the SDUSD is the second.
Yeah, it's awesome. That's what
It's like, it's the most popular second choice.
what does that mean?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
It's the most popular second.
so I would read this to say the first choice would be,
I had Miss Miller look at my
Second
survey.
choice.
She's a math teacher and she said it's fine. I
Well,
will,
I mean, if you look at the first choice, you got 40% going for option C and 30% going for option D. And then the second choice,
would be 30% for,
40% are going for option A. That would be their first and second choice. And then 30% going for option C, so.
yeah, I guess we would read it as to be,
You would expect it to go
green, blue.
Right.
You know, is it
Anyway.
orange, green, blue, or is it orange? blue?
But the punchline is that it's the 21st. Yeah, done the first week of June. I mean, it's the alignment, yeah. I'm sorry, 14. Sorry, XTUSD.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, yeah, so the other one that they like, they both air towards the middle of August.
That was my point, was saying like, what, it's not. It's not a terrible difference between those two. It's not a huge, it's 1 week.
Next suggest that if we do a whole survey, either with teachers or like the survey on characteristics, being like, do you value the early start versus more tactic, right? And then kids start from it, then rather than looking at 3 choices, because I don't, at least I know how to like this is all.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think. Sorry to give you more homework on this, but. Yeah, if you can just continue to think about, okay, I know you're gonna ask for everything. But other models that have worked in the past might be Monday through Wednesday in October and January and April. Something to that effect.
Sure. I think that's what, if that's what I was saying, if we decide on a calendar, then I can give different iterations of that calendar that we could actually vote on. So if we could narrow down to like what calendar we wanted to use, then I could propose different iterations that would have different minimum days and even different options like you're discussing. I don't know that we can get there, but that's.
I
that's
have,
what would-
I have a proposal,
Yeah, very colorful.
because I printed them out at home and did my homework. I care. I think the fourth schedule. I should say it this way, are there any schedules that we can rule out? That we can take off the table to narrow down, instead of choosing one start date?
Sure.
Is there anything that we can rule out?
I
I would say the 2 weeks at November or Thanksgiving, 2 weeks at Christmas and 2 weeks at spring break would be a calendar that I would be willing to
Option D,
rule out.
I would agree with that assessment.
Does that make sense?
Process of elimination, we teach our kids that, so it sounds good to me.
It is second or third. Well, as to you guys.
Depending on how you- Yeah, depending on how you read the graph.
But now.
That's the schedule that has 2 weeks.
No, I know,
Okay.
yeah, so I'd be curious, Daniel, Chris, and Walker, if you guys are comfortable eliminating that one as well, or if you feel strongly they should be on there. Sorry, that's decided as well.
No, I would agree that, 3 weeks, I mean, it's nice for the teachers,
Yeah, it's a little tight.
the counselors, the learning loss within the 2 week period as well.
But they really get important, so it's.
Priorities.
Whether there's. I don't know. Slight preference. Very slight, but. Do you want to? I think because you get teacher and any parents involvement in this, get feedback. I don't know, it's gonna be easy.
Yeah, I have no issue with that. For sure, I've gotten emails, in different directions with calendars since we started talking about it last month, so. I think Dr. Quesada recommended that last month and it was kind of denied, so it's kind of like, whatever.
We feel comfortable creating that survey.
Not Turner.
Just kidding. I don't really.
Well,
I think we
I mean, other than that,
We need to be careful with what survey we put out,
No,
right? Wouldn't it be more like, do you have a preference, like you were saying, towards earlier?
I don't think we should.
Not like, which calendar do you want? Yeah.
You know, and I could be saying like, here are the choices, like here are the, here, what are the things you want in school, we'll take that feedback and then come back with that.
Yes. And I think, it's not gonna go in a vacuum, we will look at it first,
Right.
for the question, and then if you're willing to take that action,
I
that'd
don't
be really
really
helpful.
help that.
You're gonna create the survey?
Cool.
I want to make sure I understood that.
Yeah. Unless you guys are seeing otherwise, I think we can probably pare down option D. Which gets done at 2, where there's 3 options. One of them is pretty darn close to SD, right?
Well, one mirrors it
I
exactly.
know, I know SD, I know, sorry, but the other one, option B.
B and C aren't super far off of it. They both are very similar.
It's 1 week in either direction, basically.
And that moves some different end of quarter dates and things like that, but that's really what it shifts.
And B is the later one, right? That seems like, according to the chart.
Yep, B starts after
But
Shanghai.
that's what the parent or the teachers don't, right?
Seems to show that.
Well, probably
chose as their third choice.
Probably just because it goes so much deeper into, I mean, I don't know, but I would guess it just goes so much deeper into June. It goes like June 14th. And we're not the 9th this year, so to feel extra, week in there probably is.
Well, then, we're all kind of going bring that, if we're giving the 8 o'clock. Should we chop option D, have Daniel work on some questions, have you doodle some other alternative for the half days, and then send out some follow-up emails, so we're ready to discuss next month.
With the goal of voting on this next.
I think if we get close, like if we get feedback from parents, if we can sort of refine a little bit some of the questions and some of the parameters, we'll at least have a lot more information next time, and maybe we can narrow it down to 2 or 1, and if we need to do a special board meeting to get it done for April or whatever, we can do that. But I think we want to give parents enough time, so we're not trailing into May and June like we did last year. So if we can get it in March, gold star. If we have to do it in April, then it is what it is.
Is it basically between B and C, seems that those are the 2?
I think we can, let's take the characteristics, we'll come back
Yeah.
to the actual, like the time frame of it.
I mean, but you know, the characteristics, they're gonna fall into either B or C.
Or SD, it could be SD, USD. But I think there will be some folks that feel.
That one mirror.
Yeah.
Well, can I ask for clarification? Have we said like half days or weeks non-starter? That's.
Yes, we want to further guide.
I would think that's one of the. As a parent, right, I think that if we want to, I mean, how do you feel about half days? On the. Right, I think that's something that we can get, have to see whether it's important.
So I know that
Yeah,
you guys
yeah.
have gotten a cry against it, maybe because I'm the one that presented it, but I got a ton, I shouldn't say a ton. I got
Careful.
more than a few emails supporting Wednesday's meeting thing,
What's more than a few?
probably like 6.
From the parents.
Yeah, directly from parents. Yeah, I didn't actually get any people that were against it. My assumption is you guys all got the ones against it.
I can't even look at my phone, right?
Yeah. And I think as representatives of the community, our voice carries weight, but we also want to be fair and representative. I think we all are saying we understand the importance of having professional development for intervention, we recognize the importance of that, but we also need to balance that with the needs of our families. And from where we're sitting, where I'm sitting, obviously Kate, I know how we feel a certain way. It'll be really, really difficult to be in a position in our community. So even if, unless there's overwhelming support for it, I don't see it being an intervention.
I would, number 2, so I think that's really, it's the differentiation between SD, USD is, I said before, and this is one. So. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay, so we have an action item on the agenda. We're not going to vote on that. This was just more discussion. I think we had good discussion.
Yeah, I think we did too.
But we also have some other stuff we got to get done.
We do have some action items.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep things rolling here. Where are we? All right, consent action items, approval for the regular special court meeting. It wasn't special, but that's just saying. Could be special court meeting. All encompassing.
We pulled my act together here. It's all encompassing. Yeah, so.
January board minutes, regular board meeting minutes. Anybody want to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
I will second. All those in favor?
Right.
Aye. Okay, all those opposed? Okay, and any abstentions? Daniel abstaining. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to Josh's piece here, the approval of the second interim budget, that update that we reviewed extensively.
Zach, did you skip B?
Oh, yeah, I did. Marked it, sorry. Approval of the check register. Marked the wrong thing. The check register.
I had two questions really quick. The field trip expense on it. $2,900, what was that one?
I apologize.
Holly Institute?
Oh, so that's one of the, that would be the down payment for the seventh grade trip.
So that would be reimbursed.
No, that's what the school's paying. We're gonna end up paying about probably roughly $18,000 for this trip, the schools.
On top of the 11,000 that's given by
The
foundation.
total for the trips was like, I think. What's your trip? Yeah, like the 8th grade trip one was like 27,000. So it's, I think it's like maybe 42,000 total or something like that, when it's all split up. I do have those numbers if you guys want.
And then there was a discrepancy on the copier lease. Is that just a yearly like re-up or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
What was the 8th grade?
8th grade is going to use them. Motion to approve. Keep it moving.
I will second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all those opposed, I don't give anybody any extensions, the vote carries unanimous. Motion carries. Now we are on to the second interim budget that was presented by Josh. So. Oh, we already asked over questions. Thank you, Dr. Casada.
Second.
Thank you, Walker. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Nobody else here to vote otherwise, so the motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Facilities and support coordinator, that is just the approval of the job description.
Just the job description.
Okay, I don't know. I don't need to approve it. We dealt with this issue before. Laura was creating some job descriptions last year. We basically said, you know, that's sort of.
So this is a new job description, and you shared with me, I have to bring all the notes here. The ones that like, when I updated STEM to say like, we wanted that to be our robotics coach as part of it, you said not to bring those.
Okay.
Brand
This is
new
a
position.
Brand new position.
It's a brand new
That's-
position.
That's an interesting. position.
It's adding it instead of like,
Yeah.
so on our budget next year, it will be on our budget.
Okay. Yep, I do vaguely remember saying that. Has everybody reviewed the job description? Anybody want to make a motion? Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. That's everybody? Yeah, everyone raise their hand. Okay, any votes against? Any abstentions? Okay. Motion carries unanimously. Approval of the meal policy. I will make a motion to approve. Second.
Who got it?
Dr. Quesada, gotcha.
Let's give it to Dr. I'm sure I won that, but we'll give it to him. That's nice.
Dr. Quesada, gotcha. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries unanimously. And then last but not least, approval of JC Educational Services. Motion to approve with the addendum on the culminating report or effective. Right, so to be added to.
I'll second.
Thank you, Kristen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. That is it. Ooh, and I
Wait.
scratched off the approval of the outside backstop repairs. I think,
I don't know how that got on there.
yeah, I don't think there's something to vote on here, other than if you could please add that to the bids that
Yep,
these guys
I
are
can do
doing.
that.
Then we can evaluate it. And if it's not,
I thought you requested to be on there. That's.
no, I just wanted it to.
She probably was just trying to work ahead and give us the option. You know what I mean?
I didn't feel to be discussed, but one just is passionate about it. She's rightfully advocating for it. Okay, that is it for open session. Thank you.
You.
Ugh. Coming out of closed session, there's nothing to report. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Yeah, so that was trying to get the camera and recording. So you're good.
Got it.